My journey through the Ladies of the Month series continues with Lady of June. How fitting that while I was creating this painting, which involved a bride, that I too was celebrating my own wedding. She presented a unique challenge of a bright and colorful summer palette with the many varied but subtle themes of the summer solstice. Enjoy this glimpse into the creative process and stay afterwards for a time lapse of this painting as it comes to life. This image is part of a series I'm working on called The Ladies of the Months. I started this series back in 2014 as a way to explore the birthstones and birth flowers for each month of the year. This series has also presented an opportunity to combine both my love of painting and for creating masks. For each painting of a lady, I've also been creating a matching mask made from carved and tooled leather. June is named for Juno, queen of the gods and spouse of Jupiter in Roman mythology. She is the goddess of marriage and the well-being of women. June also marks the time that the summer solstice takes place in the northern hemisphere, a time in which many cultures believe to be a powerful phase of feminine power and of foretelling the future. Such solstice divinations might include the old Finnish custom of maidens peering over a well while they were nude to see if the reflection would show their future husband. An unmarried maiden might also try sleeping with 7 different flowers under her pillow to see if she might dream of her future husband. This imagery stuck with me as I moved forward to design the Lady of June's thumbnail sketches. Many of these thumbnails explore using water in a well or a pond as a divination tool. 2 and 4 feel a little too close to Lady of March, with 4 feeling a bit more like a representation of vanity. 3 captures a more traditional bridal theme, while 1, 5, 6, and 7 seem to capture that theme of a bride searching for her love in the reflection for a more unified theme. In the end, my favorites are 1, 5, and 6, with 5 and 6 having the clearest shapes and classical feel. After whittling my choices down to my favorite thumbnails, I then took the poses and rounded them out with a stock photo and a rendered pose I created using the free 3D program Daz 3D. Just imagine the lady on the left would be holding a bouquet of roses, instead of nothing. Seeing the poses with more finalized details helped me make my final decision on which one to choose. I liked the one on the right for the subtle, graceful curves of it and her inquisitive nature. The pose on the left was still a bit too rigid for Art Nouveau, and it didn't interact as much with the well as the pose on the right, where I feel the pose ties her in more with her setting. The pose on the right by Lockstock struck all the right notes with its classical curves and provocative posing. I like how she seems to be inquisitively peering down into the well, but somewhat unsure as she makes her way over the side. Also, serendipity would have it that the model for this pose was also a June baby. One of the most prominent themes I found while researching the summer solstice was the celebration of Litha, or Lithia as I believe it's pronounced, in the sun wheel. The solstice celebrates the reigning power of the sun, and the sun wheel is an old tradition where a representation of the sun was set aflame and rolled down a hill to symbolize its shifting phases. As soon as I saw the sun wheel, I knew it'd be the perfect inspiration for the mandala window for this month. Next, I played with the window designs for the background with the Amaziograph iPad app. I went with the shape evocative of the sun wheel from my earlier research, along with the themes of a woven rope from an effigy. And I also went with the rose window shapes inspired by the traditional rosette windows of the Notre Dame Cathedral and other cathedrals, which are also inspired by the natural shape of roses and rosebuds. I ended up with 2 different designs for the Lady of June's window, and in a straight read, I liked the one on the right best. But once I put the window designs in the composition mock-up alongside the figure, I changed my preference back to the first window design again because the shapes were clearer. The design on the right was just too busy and overwhelming once it was put alongside the figure. Next, I worked on the mock-up of the pose with basic shapes painted in Photoshop to make sure I liked where the composition was going. The mock-up on the left I created before I did any research. The 2 mock-ups on the middle and right show my experimentation with fashions, changing the value structure, and also testing out which window design I liked best. I ended up going with my first window design since it's simpler and doesn't distract from the many details of this composition. If I use the second design, I feel that the composition would have been too busy. Also, the design with the bigger roses on the edges had more diagonals that led the eye to the central focus of the piece, the lady, instead of being more chaotic like the first window's design. I've also pushed the figure's head up past the border a bit more so the rectangle of the frame is broken up even more, creating an interesting overall framing shape. I've also made a monumental decision to add a title bar to the text. I'm not sure this one is final yet, but I always felt like the titles for this series were too bare and boring. I'm happy to find a solution that fills up that space with something more unique and that I can easily alter on my past original paintings. The first mock-up of the three you just viewed showed the first attempt at drawing her attire without worrying about reference and focusing more on where I wanted the drapery to lead the eye. I wasn't keen on this original look in the end. It was too generic, like a cheap Halloween costume. I wanted to bring some originality and visual interest to my designs, so I started gathering references for unique dresses that still had a period vibe. I tapped my Smithsonian fashion book for reference and found a lot of inspiration in the depictions of the fantasy fashion of saints during the medieval era, which were an amalgamation of high fashion of the time with Oriental and other foreign influences. You can see this in the frogging I used on the front of the second design mixed with Italian and English-inspired dress shapes and sleeves. I also included an English-inspired headdress to bring more visual interest to her head that incorporated both the rose birth flower and pearl birthstone. I also kept in mind the theme of the rose, especially in the second design, where I was inspired to give the dress a rosebud shape in the bustle, as the layers of that bustle emulate the layers of a rosebud. Finally, we reached the phase of testing out different color schemes before transferring to the watercolor paper. This helps me from making mistakes with color that I can't undo later. I knew I wanted a pale color to represent pearl with a bright red or pink accent to set it off. I've never really done this color scheme before and had been looking forward to trying it for a long time. I did explore using more green in her dress, but eventually came back around to my original idea of a very neutral white and beige color set off by the roses. I went with the last color scheme on the right with the vibrant pink roses of the choice on the left, which helped to pop the roses from the background and window design. This combination creates a stronger surrounding silhouette around the central character with a bright spot of the well in the center, while also leading the eye around the image with flashes of pink falling petals. Now enjoy a sped up time lapse of this piece in the making. This is hours of work condensed into about 5 minutes. Here we are, the finished piece! You can view the full painting and her accompanying mask online at nouveauladies.angelicshades.com. Prints, original paintings, and limited edition masks are also available in my online shop at the site. If you've enjoyed my Art Nouveau Birthstone series, be sure to check out more online at gemstonegoddesses.com. If you love this project, you can also support me on Patreon for exclusive rewards and sneak peeks. Remember to like this video and subscribe to this channel for more art, tutorials, and creativity. Thanks for watching. Wishing you all inspiration.